All right. We are live with composer, producer extraordinaire, and apparently interior decorator, which because that is a cozy spot you've got there, Tom Salta. I'm super excited to. It's always fun to hang out with you, and I'm really excited that you're here to give feedback to some composers tonight. So thank you so much, Tom, for on behalf of the whole community. We're really excited to have you here tonight.
My pleasure, Dan. Good to be here.
Yes. All right. We're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff tonight, music wise, of course, depending on what the sort of comes up in the music. But I also am really excited about a special program that Tom is going to talk about at the end. So stick around till the end of the stream because you're not going to want to miss it. There's a bit of an exclusive aspect as well for anyone who watches the show tonight. So don't go anywhere or else you'll miss all the good stuff. So we're going to start off with Mike. I'm going to bring Mike onto the stream, and Mike's going to introduce himself and the piece we're going to be hearing tonight, and we're going to dive right in, unless you've got something else you want to say before we jump in here, Tom.
Let's just dive in. Dive in.
Sweet. All right.
All right.
There's Mike.
Okay.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Dan.
How's
Can
it
you hear me
going,
okay?
dude?
You hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, brand new webcam, so just want to make sure everything's cool. So first, love the 80s podcast, Tom. It's really funny. Love it. Need more. But anyways, so Mike, out in LA, composer. So just to get right to it, the piece is called simply Victory Fanfare. I wrote a game music pack geared towards like a fantasy RPG type game. And this would just sort of be like what happens after you basically like win. Or okay. So that's and of course it's all samples. So and that's all there is to it, really. Yeah.
Is there any particular aspect, and this is going to be for everybody else, please let me know if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to focus on when I'm giving you my critique.
I guess for me, compositionally is part of it, like in regards to how well it works for the game, because I've scored some films, so that's kind of my past history. So adding games to sort of my repertoire, it'd be nice to know compositionally, does it work? Does it not work? What would change? And as always, mix is kind of a thing too, because I'm still working on mixed stuff.
Totally.
So.
Sure. You're not alone. Don't worry. All right, great. Let's bring it on. Hopefully we're gonna.
All righty. I'm going to do some fancy stuff with the screen here. Oh, wait,
this is very fancy.
One. I try to be fancy, so let me go ahead and I'm going to do this share. I'm just going to make sure this is going well. We got the audio. All right, and as always, folks in the audience, please feel free to let me know if the audio is coming through loud and clear with a barrage of emojis to show your support. Here we go. Here is Mike's Victory Fanfare. Alrighty, let me go ahead and
so before, especially if we're going to talk about mix, I have whatever setting I have in here that allows stereo. I turned it on, but maybe I just want to make sure. I know when I go to my audio settings, there's a page there in this platform that'll say stereo audio. and that means you have to turn off echo cancellation. So I just want to make sure that that's happening on everyone else's end, so I can hear left and right. Because right now I was hearing it kind of narrow. So, and I don't think that was your mix. But anyway, so let's focus on the composition. First of all, yeah, of course that'll work in a game. Man, good composition works in anything. So, definitely nailed there. And as far as, it sounds to me very clearly that you're going for one of those, like the time period, like back in the day with the knights and the castles and the dragons. That's the takeaway, that's the feel that I get. Was that what you were going for? Like that time frame?
Yep, that's exactly it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, then you nailed it.
Thank you.
As far as the mix goes, with what I was hearing, I'm going to just give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm assuming there was like left and right stuff. Because right now, what I was hearing very narrow, but other than the imaging, which I think is a technical problem, it sounded pretty balanced. But then again, it's hard for me to completely know, for example, if the French horn is a little sticking out a little bit too much, because when it's in mono, some things get doubled up as far as, the volumes can play tricks on you with this kind of stuff. So I'm not really sure about that aspect of it. Is there a way, can we just hear another, just the last 30 seconds of it again?
Of course. Let me fire it up.
Sorry about that. I might do this to you again if I want to go back and check something again.
You're the boss, man. Here we go.
All right.
I got to do the screen share, otherwise it's just me listening to it by myself, which is just low.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Cool. Yeah, again, based on what I'm hearing, because it's super narrow, I think it is mono. But the space, the sonic space of it is good. It sounds very realistic. To me, it has that, what you want, that spacious stage, epic hall kind of thing. It's not overdone. It feels big and not fake. A lot of people who aren't really comfortable with mixing, they get a little carried away and they overcompensate with things like too much verb, the wrong type maybe, or they throw it on everything because you're supposed to, which isn't true. So I only have compliments with regard to the mix. I like giving constructive criticism, but I think it's pretty good. I mean, maybe the mix itself could use a little bit of love, as far as, maybe just a little bit of the mastering, or a little bit of limiting. It might have been a little, the spectrum might have been a little bit much, but again, it's really hard. It's kind of like trying to judge three dimensions when you're covering one eye. It's like, you know what I mean? But so anyway, I think I was really good, Mike. Do you have any other questions or?
As far as, I guess, if you have any thoughts on the orchestration, or even the thought of, would it loop well the way it's constructed?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wasn't listening for a loop.
Oh, okay.
But it would definitely be able to loop very nicely, and looping is, there's a lot of ways to make a good loop, right? You don't just take necessarily, you don't just take a recording that sounds nice and just assume it's just going to loop, right? So a good deal of it is the arrangement. Like, you have to decide where to loop, right? First of all. And it's always nice if you can kind of do it in a musical way where it doesn't call attention, But there are lots of tricks as far as when you have things that hang over. As you probably all know all too well, is when you do a loop, and if there's stuff that's hanging over and it's not on the beginning, it's going to sound like it just got cut off and it's very unnatural. So, but there's so many easy ways to compensate for that and to plan for that. That's not even a question. I mean, as long as compositionally that was very listenable. It had a nice flow. It had a nice melody. The orchestration, I think, was fine. I think you certainly know how to orchestrate. I mean, you know, your instruments were used properly. The ranges were good. The sound choices. It sounds like, you know, you studied this. You know what I mean? I don't. Have you studied?
My background is in jazz, but I've done a lot of self-taught and in some lessons with Jack Smalley when he was alive.
Okay.
As well, so
yeah, you know what you're doing. So yeah, definitely sounds good to me.
Well, thank you.
All right, great.
All right, awesome. Well, and if anyone in the audience wants to chime in, let's give Mike some love and support too. I'm going to drop the link in the chat if anyone wants to go over and barrage him with likes and shares. So feel free to do that while we fire up the next one. Boom, there's the link. It's going out right now. But don't leave. Stay around. So thanks so much, Mike. And we're going to move along to Sammy. So, Mike, we'll see you later. All right, we're bringing on Sammy here. So, Sammy, how's it going?
Morning. Oh, wait, it's not morning, but hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
So, Sammy, do you want to go ahead and introduce the piece? We're going to do this. Look at that. That's much better. We're going to introduce the piece and let Tom know what you're looking for feedback-wise.
Yeah, as soon as I can get my being vain about camera angles. Pooh. Just so you know, you did get the one. You did give him the one I sent first, right?
Yes, totally. Yep.
Thank you much. Okay, so this one might stick out like a sore thumb because it's an older track of mine, like 2 going on 3 years old now, and but the thing is, this track holds a special place in my heart because for some reason it's like, even though it's a little on the basic side, and I didn't use any fancy instruments on this one because I didn't have them at the time, it like has a magic and like a compositional soundness that I haven't been able to recapture. It's my fault for not having done anything for a chunk of time, but you know, it's like, I guess, what did I do right here? Why does it feel so much better than anything else I've done recently? I mean, not to throw that at you too, but you know, so what did I do?
Oh, got a little echo there.
Oh, don't worry. Let me take care of that. I'm trying to. My voice is probably coming out the left side.
Yep.
I don't know if that's happening, but that's a weird.
It's
I don't
happening.
know why. So anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's a character theme for one of my favorite characters. Blah blah blah. In short, I told Dan that I wanted like a swift kick in the rear, like both encouragement and critique to basically just get myself up back in gear, and I want to get sort of re-debut with a remake of this song, so to speak. How's that sound?
Yeah, it sounds good. So you want me to? What would you like me to focus on? Like why it sounds the way it sounds?
I guess so. Yeah, and like, of course, if I'm like being too subjective and something actually doesn't work in this old iteration, let me know so I can correct it in the next.
Okay, I'll give you my opinion.
All right, here we go.
Not sure what happened to the loop. Sorry.
All right, so So let's talk about this. I mean, there's a lot of things we could focus on in this. So I want to make sure that I'm aiming in the direction that is going to help you in a way that you want.
Yeah.
So we can talk all kinds of things. Let's say the sounds themselves. We can talk about the way that it sounds very machine-like. Ding, 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 ding,
Oh,
ding.
darn.
It sounds very programmed. Now it is. It has to be. I don't think you're sitting there, right? It's all very mechanical.
That's probably the fault of the old sound fonts I was using at the time.
Well, it's the
sounds...
quantizing of it. That which
oh,
is
yeah.
one thing.
Okay.
In other words,
right.
everything is locked into a which right away reminds me of the old, the 80s games and stuff like that, which they were all computer, the music was programmed, basically. So this sounds like the music is programmed. That's one thing. Now, you could use that to your advantage if you'd like, but I'm just saying it sounds like it's programmed. Now, maybe that's fine for this kind of thing. It can cheapen it if you didn't intend to have it that way, but sometimes it's nice and cutesy and it has a little nostalgia to it. Okay. The sounds themselves, I mean, if you're talking sound fonts and stuff like that, then you're gonna really be limited, and again, it's gonna sound like we always used to say, like, it sounds like it's in the box. In other words, it sounds like it's coming out of a little thing. So it sounds very toyish. But let's talk about the composition just a little bit there. I think I don't care what sounds you're using or quantized, not quantized. What I think, everyone can do and improve upon is the melody, right? So it sounded very not as memorable as it should have been. Right? There was nothing that I'm coming away with whistling that I can remember, right? And that would be a shame, because for something like that, you want it to kind of get in your head.
Yeah.
So the way I like doing that kind of thing is stepping away from the computer or whatever it is you're creating on.
Sorry, dog fell on the floor.
Uh-oh.
She's good. She's good. A little startled, but good.
So, one way to focus on a good melody is, depending on how you like to write, is step away from the studio for a minute and come up with a melody just in your mind, or walking around and whistling or humming or something. Something that you can remember and something that sticks in your head. And I think that's always a great technique for writing melodies, particularly something like this, which kind of has like a, you want it to kind of be sing-songy and cute and happy and little birdies and, you know what I mean? So that's something I think you could definitely do right now, regardless of what sounds you're using.
Yeah, I mean, there have been future iterations of the track that have used better sounds and altered some bits, but for, I guess the definitive edition, I've been waffling over, which little snippets to put in the front to back, which to throw out and remake, things like that.
Sure. And you use the word think. I think that any time that the T word comes into the compositional process, it's probably not a great thing. What I mean by that is, when I find myself in a creative flow, I'm doing the opposite of thinking. It should not be a logical, decision-based thing. Now, others might have different opinions, but really what I'm talking about is the creative mind, the right side of our brain. The left side is the one that thinks. The right side is the one that feels. And you can ask scientists that both sides don't really cooperate at the same time. They're very good, particularly during the creative process. They're really good when you give one a turn and then you give the other a turn. So I'd say don't overthink your music. That's why I say, just, go for a walk around. I came up with some really good melodies that way, and plus, that's exactly why people will come up with melodies in the car, or when they're in the shower, or when they're not thinking about it. So use that to your advantage.
Yeah. I know I developed this bad habit of having to march into everything, music, writing, any field I'm in with a plan. And
Ah,
unfortunately, like, because, like, certain instruments, they evoke certain aesthetics, certain tropes and all that.
yes.
But I'm like, but how do I evoke this? Da da da. And I guess it's like, stop
Nah.
planning so much, just sit down and go.
That's right. You gotta use the force. You gotta just feel it. You gotta feel it. You gotta give yourself. Look, I say this all the time, and every time I talk about my creative process, you gotta give yourself your inner child time in the sandbox.
Oh, gee.
Okay, don't just get the adult out of the room, get the critique out of the room, the critic. I mean, and just go. All right. Doesn't mean it's always going to be a magnificent. That's okay, but at least it's going to come from you're going to let your creativity out. You're not constantly measuring and thinking and la la la, which is really going to hinder your best ideas. All right.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much, Sammy, for sharing your music with us. And we will see you again later on. But let's go ahead and move on to our next participant. So let's see who we've got here. Next, we have Frederick. So, Frederick, I'm going to bring you on here. Where are you? There you are, my little sandbox at the bottom of the screen.
Hello there. You hear me?
Hello.
Yes, indeed.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Pleasure to meet you, Tom. I'm Frederick, or Fred, composer in Sweden. Been playing music in some form most of my life. Last year, I took the dive into video game music. So the song, it's really heavily inspired by retro first-person shooters, especially sort of like slightly darker, more driving sounds like early Quake games.
Okay.
And also more recently like Dusk. So not quite as kinetic as like maybe Mick Gordon's Doom, but it's part of a music pack I'm working on. This piece specifically is kind of written as the theme for my imaginary game. It's like kind of like the opening, setting the tone for the whole piece or game, stuff like that.
Okay.
As regards to what I'm the criticism I'm looking for, or feedback, like what's working, what could be better. I think some of the challenges I find with this kind of music, especially like riff-based music, is making it sure it has some kind of memorable hook or melody, because it's not heavily melody-based music, of course.
Right.
And also mix-wise, I was trying a lot of new sounds and stuff, and just does it hold together?
Okay.
And anything you think, really?
All right, let's give it a listen. Here we go. Oops. Let me try that again with the right play button.
And by the way, I'm still getting all the mono stuff. I wonder, and I'm open to do this or not, but if you were to just shoot me over the URL, I could listen here and do it. It would be as fancy. That's just offering, just in case that helps.
Talking into a muted microphone, no big deal. So what we can do is we can try this. So I'd love to be able to have people at home hear it as well.
Right.
So what I can do,
Well, this should work because my thing, you're hearing it through my system. So if you can hear me, you'll hear the music crystal clear. It will not play through the microphone.
Very good. All right, then I just popped the link in the chat for you, the private chat.
Good.
And I'll push play on the stream for everyone at home, and we'll see how we do here.
Can you hear it?
Yes, I can hear it, but it's very quiet.
Is that coming in? Is that coming in stereo for everybody? If not, I'll change the mic while I'm listening.
Yeah, we're only hearing it come in. So maybe what we can do, Tom, is Then
I'll change it to I'll change the when I'm listening, I'm going to change it to the computer, but just make sure everybody's muted so there's no feedback. And tell me if this doesn't work, and this should be good. Tell me how this is.
Oh yeah, that came through.
Now I take it this is feedbacking, right?
An echo.
Okay, no problem. Let me put it back to that. Now I'm back on the left side, but there's no echo.
And I'll leave you two to chat.
I wonder if I do this. Is this mono now?
I'm hearing in both ears now.
Yep.
So I turned off my stereo. Okay, so I have a couple little buttons to push every time I listen to music, but that's okay. All right, so great. Really nice, really nice.
Thank you.
You know, you mentioned Mick Gordon, and certainly because he's established his style and his sound so much over the last few years in notable first-person shooters. That certainly comes to mind, and I wouldn't say it's that far off as far as it's in the ballpark that it's in the style. So I think that was really great. The mix, I mean, that was fine. I've mixed a lot of rock tracks over the years, starting from the '90s. You know, that was really good. I could hear everything. You know, the drums were clear. There was the bass and the guitar, the wideness of the guitar. I really like all of that. You know, anytime you have music that is that full and dense, there's always a coordination that has to happen with the game developer and the way they're gonna mix it, or at least the way they're gonna lay it in the game, because you know, there's gonna be a lot of overlap. Now we know clearly that it can work. You know, obviously it worked very well in Doom and other things like that recently. But that's not something that you should just take for granted, because if you just slap that in the way it is, it might not work, you know. So you've got to, I don't know how they did Doom. I don't know if there was some kind of ducking going on.
Yeah, there was vertical layers that were ducked with the various things.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And that's the kind of coordination I'm talking about. So there's ways you can get, you know, you can do a simple ducking by just ducking the music and prioritizing the sound effects, or, you know, maybe you just we're talking about this. If you were to separate the music into stems, you can duck only certain stems, which is really interesting, because then it's like the mix never drops out. Just the stuff that would sorry, that's my little timer. Just the stuff that would conflict. Like, for example, the drums. Yeah. The drums are generally going to be the things that are going to mess up with the guns for obvious reasons. You know, the only other constructive criticism I would make of that is, if I was listening to that in a game, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I would really want to hear a little bit more variety in the track. I'd want you to do some breakdown and stuff, because that track was what, over 2 minutes, right? It was two and a half minutes. You know, I'd say after about a minute or something, you know, that thing should like go into a breakdown. Because the thing is, games, you're going to be hearing it a lot, you know, and I can remember. And by the way, with this kind of music, that's every bit as good as a melody. I mean, it's a motif, it's a riff, it's something you remember. It's a hook. It's a hook, period. It doesn't have to be a melody like on top of it. That's the melody, that's the hook. All right, so let's not even use the word melody necessarily. Let's just use something as a hook. Right? So you hooked me. I got that. But please, if this is going to go on repeat for 10 minutes, definitely you're gonna get sick of that. You know, it's got to, you know, change. It should have 3 to 4 sections, and at least one of them should be a breakdown of some kind. You know, whatever. Just something variety. You got to keep it moving. You know, treat it all like ADD. Anyway, that's all I have to say on that one.
No, thanks a lot. That's really helpful. And thank you.
Great. Cool.
Awesome. So if anyone wants to fight me to that music later, I'll be outside. So just bring the brass knuckles. We'll do it. All right.
Bring it.
I think we just got to do it to that sound. So thanks so much, Fred, and we will talk to you later. All righty, Tom, how you feeling so far? Feeling good?
I'm feeling good, man.
Yeah, this is fun. This is great. I don't know what you did to make it sound so much better, but we're gonna have to talk about that later, because it sounded fantastic.
We're gonna talk about it, and then you're gonna talk to me how you make these cool little videos and windows moving around all the time.
I am. You know what it is? Mind powers. That's all. No, I'm just kidding. It's software. So I will totally show you that.
All right.
All right. Next, we're bringing in Katherine. Katherine, hello, hello. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Katherine.
Yes.
How are you? How's it going?
Good.
Doing well.
All right.
So, Katherine, introduce yourself and the track.
Okay, I'm mostly a rocker and doing live music, but also independent film. And I've started to do games this past year, or trying to get into the game stuff. So I'm new to the world. So for me, compositionally, I'm trying to figure out like how to get a point across quickly, and also kind of like work on things that could loop, how they would loop, because I'm gathering film. The film work I do is much different than games, and I'm kind of trying to figure out how those two can work or not together. Anyway, this track is called Brave New Worlds, and it's about the future and how the idea was like, we're supposed to settle somewhere else in the galaxy because we've messed things up here on this planet. And so because we have to leave the planet, we're going to be part robot, part human. So part of the things that I think I was going by, I mostly go right brain, which is vibe always. The left brain doesn't really come into a lot of my work. So that's probably, it depends on who you are, right? But like orchestration, does my point get across? Is it loopable? Is there like, and I mean, the idea for me for this particular piece was like, you're boarding your spacecraft to leave the planet, leave the galaxy. Does the vibe come across that way? And, is there a feeling that's evident when you listen to the piece? So
Okay. All right, cool. Well, there's a good amount to talk about there. So let's do it. Dan, you want to shoot me over the...
Yes, let me show you the link. And I also, while you're pulling it up, I want to preface this with Katherine did this as part of a challenge we do called 7 Days of VGM, which I'll put up the link at the bottom of the screen for anyone who wants to join us next month. But the reason I mention that is because that means that she did this in a day. So just throwing that out there. So there's the link, and I will put the screen up for visual. But
do that, and then remember mute.
And then I'm going to mute everyone else. Yep, totally.
Audio now to my interface. All right, and there we go. Wait, you can still hear me? Oh yeah, of course you can hear me. The problem is the echo. Okay, here we go.
Cool.
All right, switching back to this. All right. Excellent.
All right, we're unmuted. I think we're good to go.
All right. Okay. All right, cool. So 1 day's work. Great. Excellent.
Yep.
All right, so great. Plenty to talk about. First of all, any preference as to what I talk about first?
No.
Okay, so the loopable part. I wouldn't say that's the most loopable thing. It doesn't sound like it was intended to loop. It sounds like, first of all, it starts in one key and then ends in another key. Right, and it also doesn't have any kind of consistency or pulse or anything. I don't know what the tempo is, but there was a tempo at some point, and then it... So, look, it's not... You're coming from a music like a rock background and stuff like that. Just think about it as... Just keep playing that thing over and over. Does that work? I mean, does it keep... No, it that feels like it starts one place and it ends in another place, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of a loop is you're creating a I don't know, like a pattern or a plateau of music that it starts and ends in the same place. You know what I mean? So, you know, part of that could be loopable. Let's say like that part in the middle where it goes, you know, if that was, but that sounds like it's like a whole narrative. Like it sounds like there's the intro. That almost sounds like a cutscene. You know, like a cutscene meaning like a movie, a mini movie in the game where you're watching something happen. This does not sound like gameplay to me.
Okay.
Because it's doing multiple different things. The moods change and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, so yeah, the looping, it doesn't even sound like it's supposed to loop or would like you were even trying to loop. So,
no.
Anyway, all right, cool. As far as what else we want to talk about in this? I mean, the sounds themselves. I mean, I really kind of were digging it had a nice fusion of, you know, like you know, throwback vintage synthy stuff, which is kind of fun. Nostalgic in that way. As you can see, I'm a big fan of nostalgia. So, you know, and it's in style. I think the thing is you want to make sure that when you're doing it on purpose.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So make sure that sounds that you're using and the way it all flows together sounds current. Unless you want to kind of do some intentional throwbacks to stuff, which happens all the time, and I do it all the time as well. You know, let's see, what else is in there that we want? Yeah, like that whole thing, that can definitely be like, if that was a 30-second section, that could totally be looped inside there. You know, no problem at all. And, you know, and the way that happens, we don't have time to talk about that all now in detail. But, you know, the way that happens, let's say this is the piece and it was going to be broken up into sections. There'd be an intro, there'd be this loopable section. You literally would take your piece in the DAW that you're using. What are you using? Logic?
Logic.
Okay, great. I use that too. And, you know, you would basically... the best way I see that this works is you insert silence in between the sections. You know, you insert 2 to 4 bars of silence, whatever, before you're ready to export this thing. And this way it gives you control where you can bounce out each of the sections separately. And it gives you the ability to have a little tail at the end. Let's say the reverbs or the echoes or the instruments themselves. When you bounce that out, then you can generate a looping file after that in post-production. In other words, you bring that stereo file back in, and then there's a lot of fun little tricks that you could do by chopping the end off, putting it at the beginning, so you hear the end at the beginning, and then it's a perfect loop. You know, a lot of little things that.
Okay.
That's
cool. Yeah.
So that's cool. What else? Anything else that I?
I mean, I guess.
I like the mood. I mean, another question you asked is, does it fit like the description? Does it?
Yeah.
You know, and I really did. I really kind of like that. It's definitely spacey. You know, futuristic.
And to chime in too, she got the prompt for the mood the morning that she wrote it. So I sent it out that morning, and then everyone had to deliver.
I love it. I mean, it's very creative. It's just like floaty. It's like I don't even know like where things are. I'm not even sure. It's just a vibe, and then it gets into this thing, and so you definitely are a creative person, and you can have a lot of fun with that. So keep it up.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Katherine.
Thank you, Dan.
Love the track, as always.
Thanks.
Have a good one. See you soon. All right. So the next person we're going to have up, I'm going to send you the link in the chat now, Tom. And let me introduce...
And we do it okay on time? I want to make sure, just come and give me the cue visually if I'm...
Yep, I kind of pop back in at like that sort of...
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's like...
No, that's,
all right,
I'm like the violins. That's me.
Yeah. Hey,
Howdy. It's good to see you.
How are you?
Definitely an honor. Your music's just
thanks.
incredible.
Nice to be.
So the track that I have here is so I've been experimenting recently.
Whoa. It just went into autoplay. Sorry about that. Let me just get it. Okay, go ahead.
All right. That happens whenever he speaks, so.
Yes. It's my theme song. It's a villain song. All right, a villain piece. So I've been experimenting with trying to incorporate aspects of electronic dance music into my game music, and not only into my game music, but into my classical music. So I've been trying to find that, that balance of this is the right amount of dance and game and classical and melody and chord progressions and change, which is, there is no right answer. I know that. I know.
Well, right. What's the right amount? That's up to you.
But am I on the right track is really what I want to know. So when someone like you listens to this, I want to know, okay, he really needs to modulate. Okay, he needs a counter melody. Those kinds of composing things that you think about for a normal piece of music that I might be missing because I'm trying to make it a electronic dance inspired piece of music.
Okay. And obviously in the context of a game too, because I'm always going to listen through, or that lens, so to speak, because that will also raise other potential red flags that wouldn't necessarily be an issue if it was just a normal piece of music to listen to from beginning to end.
Absolutely. And so it's a villain theme. It was also written for the 7 Days of Video Game. And my imagination, or what inspired me, is RPG where you're approached by the villain, you start conversation. As the conversation gets more intense, then you'd go to a new section that would be triggered, new section. So each individual section I was thinking to have a loop.
Okay.
That would be triggered.
Sounds good. Cool. All right, so you're saying there can be different sections in this, basically. Built into it. Yeah. All right, cool.
All right, hit it, Tom.
Switching now. Fancy stereo. Here we go. Cool. Whoops. Is that me? Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Now, I turned on echo cancellation. Is this better?
Everything sounds great to me.
Cool. It sounds good to me, yeah.
And did you hear it in stereo or no?
I heard it, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, then, I don't know, because I turned off stereo, but it's working, and I have echo cancellation, so yay! All right. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I can hear your musicality in there. I can hear your overqualified as far as just being stuck to, let's say, dance music. Not that that's not musical, but I see what you're talking about. You know, I didn't hear many other, musical influences in there necessarily. As you know, when you mentioned low classical, I was expecting to hear, I don't know, things that might evoke more traditional classical music. But I don't think that's bad. I wouldn't have even said that had you not brought it up. When I'm listening to this, the bottom line is it enjoyable? And then when it comes to games, is it appropriate? And is it loopable? Is it going to get tired? Is there enough variety in there? I'd say all of those, it succeeded. When I'm listening to this, it makes me think of playing some of the older arcade games, let's say from the 90s, like R-Type, the thing like the side-scrolling space shooters or thing, of that style, that this kind of music, or it could be 3D, but I'm saying it feels, because of the instrumentation, because it's all synthetic and the style that it is, that really seems to remind me of those kind of that era of gaming, right? Maybe that's what you intended. I mean, I don't see it as a problem. I mean, if you told me, well, this is like a Zelda game, I'd be like, but I don't know what kind of game you were thinking, but I can tell you what kind of game I have in my head, and it would work for a whole slew of them.
Yeah. I think we were doing a cyberpunk themed week.
Okay. Well, definitely. For sure. Look, when it comes to any kind of electronic music, it's always the thing that you have to make sure that your sounds and your techniques and the way it is going to be current. Otherwise, it's going to sound like a throwback. And again, it can be in style to do a throwback. But right now, this didn't sound to me like a 2021 cyberpunk thing. Only just maybe because of the sounds themselves. It sounded like expected sounds, like the sounds that they had back in the 90s, the normal dance music sounds. Does that ring true?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it makes sense. I used a lot of stock Logic sounds.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
As well. And again, I mean, I was doing dance music professionally in the 90s. I mean, so that's what I did before games. Mm-hmm. So all this is very familiar to me. And so I'd say, look, ever hear of Splice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a lot of online-based, cloud-based sample things out there, and there's countless sounds and stuff. But, that's just one of many, 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 many ways that you can say, okay, you know what? What's the flavor of the month? What's the most contemporary, dance construction kits, or the most contemporary drums, or the most contemporary. It might just inspire you with a new set of sounds instead of getting stuck in, the factory stuff. I think the factory stuff is great when you're in a pinch and you don't have your whole library and you just want to put an idea down. But I wouldn't necessarily use much or any of that for the final thing. But again, if speed is an issue and whatever, the most important thing is the composition. Mm-hmm. And I think on that, you did your job, man. I'd listen to that. I'd listen to that over and over. That would make me feel very satisfied while playing a game.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you, sir. And that was. I just want to point out that I was dancing, but you guys kind of left me hanging there. I was dancing on camera, and then you guys just sat there all stoic, and I kind of felt like I was just sort of.
Well,
okay.
You kind of got off the dance floor and went back in the corner.
Yeah. All right. Alrighty. So, and we are on to our last composition of the night. So we're gonna bring on Kirill. So Kirill, hello, sir. Oh, camera's.
Kirill.
There he is.
Name. What's the origin of that name?
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. All good. All right. Origin of my name. Well, I'm from Russia originally.
Okay.
But I think it comes from, as far as I learned, from Persia from long time ago.
Wow.
And then it went into Macedonia and Greece, I think. But I'm not that good at the.
Okay. Well, I love
history.
that. Kirill. That's a cool name, man. Love it. All right. So let's talk about your music. Set it up.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right. So this was written for the 7-day competition or challenge, not competition, for 3 months ago. So I think it was either December or January when we had the fantasy creatures and stuff.
December.
And I really really like RPG stuff personally. I mean, of any sort. But this one was it's called the Magic Fairy Forest. So that's what I kind of envisioned when I sang the melody. That's how I compose. I sang everything with my voice originally and then replay it with the instruments. So in this case, in general, you can notice when I write something, it's all mostly cantabile, like very singable or whistleable, I guess. Or at least I hope so.
Sure.
So I really like your music too. Electronic stuff, break beats, I really dig from 90s and until now, DJing, all of this stuff back in the days too. So it's very inspiring to me too. I'd like to ask you opinion regarding what you think melodic part of composition, overall balance, maybe some orchestral accent advice, like accents in the piece, because I don't have that specific knowledge at all. So it's all kind of comes as I write it.
Got it.
And maybe what you can think, what could be enhanceable. Thank you.
All right, you got it. Let's take a listen here. RPG, I get it. Beautiful melodies.
Tom, the audio quality is not going through quite as it was before.
Sorry about that. Let me try that again. I thought webcam computer. That is the setting. Let me tell me if this is better. No?
No, it's a lot quieter now.
That's weird. What happened?
Try to do what you did before. Maybe it's just something on my end.
Oh, okay. I'm going to let's see. I'm gonna go to this.
Sorry, my
Take
main
off
listener
echo
came.
cancellation. Let's try it now. No?
Yeah, no, hearing it super quiet in the left ear only.
Okay, hold on. Well, this thing might be just. We'll get it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get this. Let's go back to webcam computer. Stereo audio's on.
Now get that quality. There it is. Boom.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Great. And can you hear me now?
Yes.
Left side or
Right in the center. Right in the center.
right in the side? What? It's different every time. Okay. Beautiful. You know,
Thanks.
I'm glad you told me how you wrote that, because it backs up what I was saying before about, you know, writing melodies sometimes just with your voice and with something that's singable. It really, what a difference. You know, that really had a nice, beautiful, singable, natural musicality to it. I really love it. I mean, it just like what you want in an RPG, because you're going to listen to that for 50 hours.
True.
Very listenable, very, very. Yeah, I just enjoy being there. You know, I enjoy being in that music. Now, let's get into some of the things that I think that would make it even better. The ideas themselves, the composition, I think is stellar. I have no suggestions on improving it. But when you virtualize it, when you put it in the computer, it sounds a little more stiff than it needs to be. First of all, don't always quantize everything. At least not 100%. Because what I was hearing in there, everything is like ding. It sounded like you had quantizing on, and it was just very, you know, I mean, I assume it was, right? You know what I mean? Like, as far as...
Partially no.
Okay. Well, then I would say whether it is or whether it's not, it sounded very much like it. And that's because some of it felt a little more stiff than it needed to be. Part of that, however, is due, I think, to some of the samples. Let's say like the cello that I was hearing on the right side of the mix. Boom, boom, boom. Some of those sounds felt a little bit static. Like there's no life in them. They didn't have the dynamics. And that's one of the trickiest things to put into the piece, is the expression, especially when the samples aren't cooperative. You know, today there are a lot of these nice libraries that have a lot of that built into it. You know what I mean? Like let's say like the Tina Guo library, you know, there's an expressive patch in there. And there's some other things that are also very expressive with a lot of sample libraries out there. But some of them aren't, and that's okay. You could still use them. Hello, how are you? Is that your son? Hi there, what's your name? You should be very proud of your dad, because he's really great. Hi.
Oh, you're gonna put me into red color.
Yeah, you know, so I think this could benefit a lot from expression. Things that add the human factor back in. I bet you if I heard the version that you sang, it would have a lot more life and humanness to it. And you don't want to take that away. You know, you want to keep that. You want to work that. You want the composition version, the virtualized, the orchestrated one, to be fuller and richer and be even more dynamic. And this, I have a funny feeling that you lost some of that in translation just due to technical reasons.
It's possible. I mean, I don't really know the orchestration rule. You know what I mean? Like when I replay it, something's doubling.
Hold on. I'm gonna remove you from the stream and add you back in. Hold on.
Check.
Okay, then let me turn my thing. That could be my. All right, so I'm gonna go here. That should remove it then.
Now it's stopped doubling. Okay, so I was going to say, because I don't have the school of orchestration or no, in a sense, when I put the score together, it's all by MIDI. So I only do it as I guess that's how it is supposed to be.
No. It's nothing to do with the school of orchestration. I didn't do the school of orchestration either. It's not about that. It's just about, you know, I mean, it wouldn't hurt you to listen more to orchestrations, like real recordings that are in this style, just so you can kind of hear like, there's a ebb in this flow. Like when a violin plays, there's usually it tapers off.
Yes.
And, you know, those kind of things. But that can all be done with controllers and expression and modulation and automation and stuff like that. You know, a lot of times if I just love the sound of this thing, but there's no dynamics in it, I'll just do a dynamic pass. You know, so don't worry. Your orchestration was just great. I wouldn't change a single instrument. You did great. I'm just saying there should be more humanness, some human expression. It felt a little too computery and fake. But that's the only constructive criticism I can give you. That was incredibly strong piece, wonderful melodies, great job.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Tom. It's a pleasure to hear it from you.
Sure.
Awesome. I will try to enhance it more.
All right, good. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
And thank you, Kirill, so much for sharing the music with us. This is awesome. All righty. We have come to the end of the evening. I know. You know, if you want to just hang out for another couple hours. I'm just kidding. I'm
going to fall asleep, man. Late for me.
It'll just be you and me passed out at our desks. That'll be the stream for the next 3 hours. Until my baby wakes me up in the middle of the night. So Tom, first of all, thank you so much for spending some time listening to VGM Academy members' tracks tonight and giving them feedback. We were super excited to have you and gain our knowledge from your expertise. So thanks again. This was just
my
awesome.
pleasure. Thanks. It was fun. And
before we go, we've got to talk about your program. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to pass the ball to you now.
Oh boy,
because I want you to best describe what we're working with here.
Okay, well, real quick, I love talking to people and teaching and giving presentations, and I've done this at universities and for years. And right before COVID, I was like, you know what? I want to put something online. I want to take like these talks that I've honed over the last years, things on, creativity and things on just technical aspects and game music and whatever, and create my own masterclass series. And that's what I did. And then the pandemic hit. I'm like, that's weird, but good timing. So in any case, I have a masterclass out now called Game Audio Essentials, and I think that so many of you would really, really benefit from this because it's the same material that I teach when people are taking high-end courses at universities and a lot of the conferences that I'll talk at. But it's all consolidated and down. So I talk about the business aspect. I talk about my creative process. And it's all, so the first course is called Game Music Essentials. And talking to Dan, what I just did is I created a coupon code for $50 off just for the VGM community for the next 48 hours. But here's the best bonus of this thing. You can actually save money by getting this. And what do I mean by that? Because thanks to a lot of my generous friends at the various companies like Cinesamples and Heaviosity, you are getting major discounts. Like you can get 50% off any Cinesample library. So that basically means if you're paying $200 for my course and you buy $1,000 sample library, you just made yourself a lot of money. So there's a lot of reasons to go for it. A lot of benefits. And if you just simply go to tomsalta.com/masterclass, I'm just going to do that right here, right now, making sure everything is looking good and nifty. Yeah, so it's tomsalta.com/masterclass. You can get Game Music Essentials, and that code. Do you want me to say the code, or do you just want to
say it?
Okay.
Scream it from the rooftops.
Take this down. $50 off in addition to all the other discounts. VGM-50.
Beautiful.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Well, we're gonna have to. We'll put that on the video. VGM-50. I just want to make sure this looks right for.
And this is a limited time code, but if you go there, you'll get $50 off, and you're entitled to all those discounts that I mentioned. So if you have any questions, just write me through the site. But anyway, just want to offer that to you guys. I think a lot of you would really find it very useful. And it also comes with a way that you can submit your music to me, and we'll schedule a one-on-one call for a personalized critique. You'll have access to a monthly group. All the features are on the site. So I don't want to go into more of a sales pitch, but check it out. and hope to see a lot of you there.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
Tom, thanks again so much. I put the info at the bottom there. Bada boom. There
Bada
it
boom.
is. Bada boom.
All right.
So there it is. So thanks again, everyone. And we will see you whenever we see you. But hopefully stick around. And again, you are always welcome to join our monthly 7 Days of VGM Challenge. If you go to vgmacademy.com/7days, you can sign up for the next one, which I revealed on the last stream. So you can go and watch that. I'm not going to say it right now. You have to go and watch or sign up, and you'll find out the theme for the next month. So thanks again, Tom. And we're going to sign off. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.